Hey everybody, I'm Benjamin, aka The Terrible Australian of Supermarcy.com, and welcome to my video review of director Michael Bay's brand new film, 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi. So let's get right into it. Now, I know a lot of people hate Michael Bay and whatnot, and I can totally understand that. But I like the guy. I really enjoyed most of his films and whatnot. Yeah, I'm not going to say all of his films are great. Transformers Revenge of Pearl Harbor. But I've enjoyed, other than those ones, I've enjoyed most of his films, and some of them have ranged from decent to actually pretty damn good. Like, definitely, in my opinion, his best work has been The Rock, the first Transformers film, and Pain and Gain. To me, I think is his best films. And he's definitely a very polarizing figure in terms of directors and whatnot. But to me, I just really like his films. When I go see a Michael Bay film, I know exactly what to expect. Lots of explosions, lots of great visual style and whatnot. But at the same time, I just get a kick out of his films, and I find him a really interesting director in a lot of ways. And I think he's definitely one of today's best action directors. But I think there's a lot more to him that I think a lot of people don't really give him credit for. And especially when he sort of tackles kind of projects like his smaller, passionate projects. Like, in sort of between the Transformers films and whatnot, he's sort of made Pain and Gain, which is a film that I can understand why people hate that film, but I thought was terrific. And this one, which I'm reviewing now, 13 Hours, sorry, which to me is... Now, a lot of, I don't really know much about the Benghazi situation that happened a couple of years ago, so I only kind of know sort of the basics of what happened and whatnot, but I didn't really know sort of how all that stuff actually happened, because to be honest, don't really follow politics and all that much. Like, I do watch the news and all that, but I just sort of don't really I only sort of vaguely remember sort of that story happening, and it's not, but until this film came out, I was very curious to see how Michael Bay would approach it, because he's definitely, when Michael Bay tackles true life stories, they're definitely sort of mixed results for a lot of people, like Pearl Harbor or Pain and Gain, and he's sort of got accused for a lot of things with those two films. And so I was very interested to see how 13 Hours would go, because to me this is definitely the most military-based film that he's made so far. Like, he's definitely had a military influence in all of his films, particularly with the Transformer films and also Pearl Harbor and whatnot. But this is the one where they're definitely the main focus of this film, and I thought, in a way, he's kind of a good fit to that, because he's always been very supportive of the military and whatnot. So I could definitely see him sort of tackling this film. But the question is, would he approach it the same way as he does with his other films? And having watched this film now, I have to say, this is definitely up there as one of his best films. Like, to me, in his top 4 or 5. And I have to say, it's also his most mature and most restrained work as well. And all the sort of the things that he's been accused of all throughout the years, like bringing toilet humor and sort of stereotypes and whatnot in his films, there's none of that in this film. And if anything, he retreats the story of this true story of these soldiers who were protecting American civilians in Benghazi very respectfully. And also, like, I know the whole Benghazi situation has been very politicized in a lot of ways, and like sort of hearing about it and whatnot. But the way that Bay approaches his film, he doesn't make it a political film. And if he is, he's doing it in a very subtle way, which is unlike any that Michael Bay has ever done with his other films before. Because let's just face it, he's not a man who's known for subtlety. But to me, he sort of approaches this, he just sort of shows us how this situation happened, without resorting to politics and name blaming and whatnot. And to me, it makes the film even more effective. And it's actually a really good thriller, a really good action film, and it actually features really good, strong performances from its ensemble cast, like John Krasinski, James Badge Dale, who are the two leads of the film, and also Max Martini, Toby Stevens, Pablo Schreiber. Everyone does a great job in their performances, and also the action sequences are definitely up there as some of the most intense stuff he has done in his whole career. I mean, he's always been great with action sequences, but this is definitely the most intense sort of set pieces that he's ever done. And you're sort of on the edge of your seat the entire time, because in a way it kind of feels like also kind of a modern day Alamo story, or like an Assault on Precinct 13 kind of story, where sort of these guys are sort of fighting off this enemy that is surrounding them and they're trying to escape. And also it does it in a way that, like, I can see this film sort of getting polarized in a lot of ways, especially how it's sort of its treatment of characters and the country and whatnot. But to me, I just didn't feel like Bay was interested in sort of making things black and white. Like, he treats the sort of the soldiers and all that, like the American soldiers, with respect and whatnot. But even he kind of shows a little bit of humanity with the sort of the villains of the piece as well. Even though that we don't really sort of get that much focus with them as well. But there are instances here and there that he sort of brings. He doesn't paint them as kind of full on. I mean, they're the bad guys, of course, but also he doesn't resort to, you know, not making it sort of black and white in a way, like in terms of how characters are portrayed. And he like I said, we don't really get some scenes with sort of the bad guys in the film, but there's sort of little instances here and there that sort of you can kind of that sort of bring a bit more sort of, they humanize them in a way, and which I found quite surprising. And also there's a really intense sequence in the film where the soldiers are sort of in a situation where they're surrounded by civilians and enemy combatants and whatnot, and they're sort of, and it's an intense sequence because you can sort of sense the paranoia, because they don't know who's an enemy and who isn't, and at the same time you can see why they would feel that way, because they don't want to make the mistake of actually, you know, killing an innocent person in that country. And the film is just a really interesting film, and I think it's definitely, of sort of in terms of modern war films, it's probably the best one of its type since Black Hawk Down. It sort of has that same intensity and whatnot, and it doesn't approach its story in a very political way. And it's really well done. It's beautifully shot, great score, strong performances, really good script. It's just a really strong film as well. Like I said, I kind of wish there was a bit more. We kind of got a bit more sort of development of the other side, like the people who live in that country and whatnot. But we like it. But you know, the film sort of more focuses on the sort of the soldiers and whatnot. But we do get sort of do get a bit of spend the time with some characters of that country who are more fleshed out, and that brings a bit more humanity to the story. If that makes any sense, so I apologize. If it doesn't, I apologize completely. So yeah, 13 Hours. It's a really strong Michael Bay film, and definitely up there as one of his best works so far. And like I said, it's a very mature, restrained effort from him as well. But at the same time, like as all Michael Bay films, it still delivers on the action. And it's definitely worth watching for sure. So yeah, if I had to rate 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi, I would give it 4 stars. I'd say it's worth watching for sure. So yep, that's the end of my video review of 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi. I hope you guys all enjoyed it, and I'll see you all later. See you everyone.